Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 87, entitled Prayers of the Personified Vedas, text number 21. I was noticing, I like this system they have here. They close this door, they rope everybody in on that side, what they call a captive audience for class, huh? Very good system. Should try that in other temples. So, here and here, it's written like 4 nice lines. In the version I had, it was not 4 nice lines. It's a little complicated. So I'll just read the whole verse, all 4 lines, and then 1 or 2 devotees can read the whole, because I don't think there's actually a melody. If there's a melody, some of our Sanskrit scholars don't know that melody, so I definitely don't know the melody. So we'll hear the sounds. Turavagam atma tattva nigamaya tattvata tanos sharita mahamritam hi parivarta parishramanaha napari la shanti kechid aparvagam apishvarete sharana saroja hamsa Kula Sangha Vishrista Griha. Word for word meanings. Turavagama. Difficult to understand. Atma, of the self. Tattva, the truth. Nigamaya, in order to propagate. Tava, of you. Ata, who have assumed. Tano, your personal forms. Charita, of the pastimes. Maha, vast. Amrita, of nectar. Abdhi, in the ocean. Parivarta, by diving. Parishramanaha, who have been relieved of fatigue. Na parilashanti, do not wish for. Kechit, a few persons. Apavargam, liberation. Api, even. Ishvara, O Lord. Te, your. Charana, at the feet. Saroja, lotus. Hamsa, of swans. Kula, with the community. Sangha, because of association. Vishrishta, abandoned. Griha, whose homes. Translation and then purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Lord, some fortunate souls have gotten relief from the fatigue of material life by diving into the vast nectar ocean of your pastimes, which you enact when you manifest your personal forms to propagate the unfathomable science of the self. These rare souls, indifferent even to liberation, renounce the happiness of home and family because of their association with devotees who are like flocks of swans enjoying at the lotus of your feet. Please repeat, my Lord, some fortunate souls have gotten relief from the fatigue of material life by diving into the vast nectar ocean of your pastimes, which you enact when you manifest your personal forms to propagate the unfathomable science of the self. These rare souls, indifferent even to liberation, renounce the happiness of home and family because of their association with devotees who are like flocks of swans enjoying at the lotus of your feet. Purport. Ritualistic brahmanas, smartas, and impersonalists, mayavadis, always try to relegate the process of bhakti-yoga to a relative or minor role. They say that devotion to the personality of Godhead is for sentimental persons who lack the maturity to observe strict rituals or pursue the rigorous culture of knowledge. In this verse, however, the personified Vedas most emphatically declare the super excellence of devotional service, clearly identifying it with Atma Tattva, the science of the self, that impersonalists so proudly claim as their own domain. Srila Jiva Goswami here defines Atma Tattva as the confidential mystery of the Supreme Lord's personal forms, qualities, and pastimes. He also gives a second meaning for the phrase Atma Tano. Instead of meaning, quote, who assumes various bodies, end quote, the phrase can also mean, quote, he who attracts everyone to his transcendental body, end quote. The pastimes of Lord Krishna and his various expansions and incarnations are an unfathomable ocean of enjoyment. When a person comes to the point of complete exhaustion in his materialistic pursuits, whether he has been searching after material success or some impersonal notion of spiritual annihilation, he can gain relief by submerging himself in this nectar. As Srila Rupa Goswami explains in his textbook on the science of bhakti-yoga, Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, rendered into English by Srila Prabhupada as the nectar of devotion, one who tastes even a single drop of this vast ocean will forever lose all desire for anything else. Giving an alternative interpretation of the word parishramanaha, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that although the devotees of the Lord become fatigued after repeatedly diving into the endless waves and undercurrents in the ocean of the Lord's pleasure pastimes, these devotees never desire any happiness other than the Lord's service, even the happiness of liberation. Rather, their very fatigue becomes pleasurable for them, just as the fatigue produced by sex indulgence is pleasurable to those addicted to sex. The Supreme Lord's pure devotees become enthused by hearing the charming narrations of his pastimes and feel impelled to dance, sing, shout out loud, kick their heels together, faint, sob, and run about like madmen. Thus, they become too absorbed in ecstasy to notice any bodily discomfort. Pure Vaishnavas do not even want liberation, what to speak of other desirable goals, such as an exalted position as ruler of the heavenly planets. This degree of exclusive dedication is admittedly only rarely achieved in this world, as the Shrutis speaking this verse indicate by the word kechit, a few. Not only do pure devotees abandon their hankering for future gain, but they also lose all their attraction for what they already possess, the common comforts of home and family life. The association of saintly Vaishnavas, the disciplic succession of masters, disciples, and grand disciples becomes for them their real family, filled with swan-like personalities like Sri Shukadev Goswami. These great personalities always drink the sweet nectar of service to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet. Many mantras of the Upanishads and other Shrutis openly declare devotional service to be superior to liberation itself. And the words in the Shringa Purva Tapani Upanishad, Yam Sarve Veda Namanti Mumukshavo Brahma Vadinascha. To him, all the Vedas, all seekers of liberation, and all students of the absolute truth offer their obeisances. Commenting on this mantra, Sri Shankaracharya admits, Mukta api lilaya vigraham krita bhajanti. Even liberated souls take pleasure in establishing the Supreme Lord's deity and worshiping him. The great rival of Acharya Shankar, Srila Madhvacharya Anantatirtha, cites his own favorite Shruti mantras in this regard, such as Mukta Yenam Upasate, Muktanam Api Bhaktirhi Paramananda Rupini. Even those who are liberated worship him, and even for them, devotional service is the embodiment of supreme bliss. And Amritasya Dara Bahuda Dohamanam Charanam Naloke Suduhitam Tatatu Om Tat Sat. May his feet, which bountifully pour forth floods of nectar, bestow wisdom upon us who are living in this world. Last paragraph. In summary, Srila Sridhar Swami says, Kvakatamrita patodo viharanto mahamudha Kuravanti kritana chechit chatur vargyam trinopamam. Those rare, fortunate souls who derive great delight by sporting in the nectar ocean of topics about you, consider the four great goals of life: religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation to be no more important than a blade of grass. Om Ganatam Yandashajana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshu Minitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Titanamanovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, very special place to be reading the personified Vedas, glorifying the importance of the Lord's personal pastimes and the process of bhakti. So describe this a little bit. It's very expansive purport. There's many things can be talked about. We'll just touch upon a few of those. So first I want to thank all the devotees. Some of you are visitors here. I think many of you live here. Louder, how really close, huh? Hare Krishna. I know I was never a rock star, but they say rock musicians, you have to eat the mic. So I'll try to. It's a little hard because this one is further away from this fluffy one, so the fluffy one hits you in the chin. I don't know why there's two, but anyway. Material world, there's always some problem, right? Okay, so I will try to chant. Thank you. I'll try to speak loudly. So thank all of you for visiting the Holy Dham, very sacred place of Lord Krishna, and especially those of you living here, serving here and continuing Srila Prabhupada's mission. This, of course, was his first major temple built in India. And we can't really measure the benefits of those who visit this place. And the devotees here who are serving here, worshiping the deities, making beautiful garlands, beautiful outfits, the cooks, the managers, all of you actually making it possible for so many thousands of pilgrims to come every day. So that's Prabhupada's desire, and it's Lord Chaitanya's desire that this happens. So it's by the surrender and the hard work and the service and the tolerating the heat and the cold and so many different problems that come by the nature of this material world. Because you're tolerating those things, Prabhupada's mission is continuing on. Without the devotees here, the mission really wouldn't continue. The deities, of course, are what draw people, but without the servants of the deities to take care of the people that come, they wouldn't come. At a certain point in time, people would stop coming. So thank you all for that, for your dedication. So a couple thoughts on this verse. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna explains simple form. O sign of Bart, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So this verse is describing how we get out of this ignorance, but first we need to understand what is the nature of this ignorance or this illusion. And it is that we are overwhelmed by desire and hate. And we can see, especially as Kali Yuga marches forward, the world around us very much operates on this principle of desire and hate. People in general, they're working very, very hard. They may have different aspirations. Some people want a big car, some people want a big house, some people want a house, small house, somewhere quietly in the country. Somebody wants to make a lot of money, somebody else wants to try to help protect the whales or protect the squirrels or protect the cows or protect the different things, protect women, protect children, so many different causes, some very good, some more selfish. But people are working very hard to fulfill different desires that they have, overcome by desire and hate. And as a result of that, we love the people who have similar aspirations. They become our friends. And we hate those who are in competition with us. So we see the world today is filled with nation states hating each other. Even in the United States, the political situation has become so contentious. Some people describe that in the past, there was the sense that it's a two-party system there. So in the past, there was a sense that, well, I don't agree with these other people, but I know we have shared goals. But these days, there's a sense that I don't agree with you, and you're bad for the country. So not only I don't agree with you, I hate you. I'm threatened by you. You're an obstacle. So the world is very much overcome by this, and almost to the point it's almost out of control. And we see so many countries these days, the current phenomena, which is the manifestation of this. Yeah. Does everybody know that there's an ocean in the Pacific Ocean that is, I don't know how to compare it, maybe it's the size of Gujarat, America, they say it's the size of Texas. The biggest one. There's other ones floating in the ocean, composed of, do you know what it's composed of? Plastic. You know who put the plastic there? We did. We did. I know in Mayapur, I don't know in Vrindavan, but at least in Mayapur, the way they get rid of plastic, they burn it. You know how many chemicals are in plastic bottles? Horrible. So sometimes I hear somebody sniffling. Sometimes we're sniffling, we're coughing, so many things. We hear so many diseases that are there. A lot of it is caused because we're poisoning the environment, and then we expect to live healthily in it. So we should all try to be aware there are impacts of what we do. We may think, well, I'm a devotee, there's no impact to what I do, but let me punch you in the nose and see if there's an impact. I'm a devotee. If I do something, it's going to harm you. What you do can harm me. What I do can harm me. So we have to be aware of all the things that we do. So today, this sense of hating and loving, Prabhupada wrote an essay in Back to Godhead about the hate and love. So we can see it so strongly today. And it becomes group hate, and it becomes national hate. But we can see there's this explosion, really, exploded already in some places, of rampant nationalism. I live in a place, mega, make America great again. Nobody asks, well, when was it great? Which period of time do you want to duplicate? You want to duplicate the time when we enslaved black people? Do you want to duplicate the time when we had genocide against the native people? Do you want to duplicate the time when all of the working class were so exploited that they were suffering like anything, and a few people became very, very wealthy? Which period do you want to duplicate? Nobody asks that question. And they talk about, one of the symptoms of all of these nationalistic movements is oftentimes they identify with nationalistic or sometimes fascist movements. They identify with some imaginary past. And then the question is, who's stopping us from having that today? And then you pick out somebody you don't like, they're the cause. So it becomes especially dangerous when this nationalism becomes combined with religion. Then it's really dangerous. Because then it's not a question of just our tribe, it's our tribe with God behind us. He's on our side. He's not on your side. He's on our side. So you see the world's full of Christian nationalism, Jewish nationalism, Muslim nationalism, Hindu nationalism, Buddhist nationalism, Sikh nationalism, so many places all around the world. And as a result of that, people are defining themselves not in terms, as this verse is explaining, in terms of our relationship with the divinity, with Krishna. I define myself as being different from you. What I am is different from you, whether it's based on race or color or religion or language or national origin. And the leaders of such movements, they convince the people that the reason we haven't achieved everything you want, Gita says we're all born into desire, right, and hate. The reason you don't have your desires filled is because of those people. It's another nation, or we all know, countries all around the world, they're throwing up big borders. Stop the immigrants. But every country in the world is filled with immigrants. I think even from what I understand, I read some polls when our current president, may God bless him someday, when he became president, India had one of the highest percentages of approval. Yes, finally, crazy Americans, they elected a good guy. But within 8 months, completely flipped. Now India has one of the lowest perceptions of that. Why? Because somehow the current administration, they're defining certain policies that now India is we're put you down so we go up. So that's the nature of this world. One day you're my friend, the next day you're my enemy. One day we have a partnership, the next day we lose our partnership. And what's being explained, what people forget and what we have to keep in mind is the fact that, as Prahlad Maharaj explains to his father, you don't have any enemies, Father. You only have one enemy. That's your mind. That's your enemy. It's not this one. It's not Vishnu or the Vaishnavas. It's not the Russians or the Ukrainians or the Americans or the Indians or the Pakistanis or the Nepalis or the South Americans. It's not those. That's illusion. The enemy actually is the mind. That's our actual enemy. Recently, I was at I was in an event, an interfaith event in Oxford, England, and I was speaking with one member of the Orthodox Christian tradition, and a lot of discussion about how this religious identification and, I'm better than you and this and that, it comes out in every tradition, in so many different traditions. And he was describing, he told me of recently there was a priest in another Orthodox church who was giving a sermon, and they were in their sermon or in their public talk, they said, as religious people, we know there's the Russian-Ukraine war is going on. He said, we should pray for all the victims of the war, both the Ukrainians and the Russians. He was excommunicated from his church. We don't pray for those people. But we're supposed to be godly people. We're supposed to pray for everyone. Krishna tells us as Vaishnavas, the Bhagavad-Gita, one who is kind to all living entities. Krishna says that's a devotee. One who doesn't discriminate, that's a devotee. But in this case, he was excommunicated. In our own communities, recently there was a situation, there was some conflict came up about a year and a half ago in the UK in Leicester. And the president there, Prajumna, he had established very good relationships with the Muslim community and other minority communities in the UK. And there was some young men, and the details are more than we need to understand, but there was some conflict. Young group of Muslim men went into a Hindu neighborhood, and young men of Hindu went into a Muslim neighborhood, and there was some vandalism or something like that. And it was like raised communal tension. So Prajumna Prabhu spoke at a public gathering in front of the media, like the camera here, about how this is not who we are. Both of our traditions teach us to be higher people, better people. And this conflict that's come up, this is not the essence of Islam. It's not the essence of Hinduism or Vaishnavism. And he was standing with other Hindu and Muslim leaders saying, this is not, we want to stand up as a voice for peace. He was criticized by some Vaishnavas. He was criticized in India. How dare you say this? We're with this side. We're against that side. See? So it affects us. We're not these bodies. We're not these bodies. There's a very nice devotee, I have responsibility for the parts of the Midwest United States. I was there recently, was speaking with a very nice brahmachari about different things. He's been a member of ISKCON for 15, 20 years. He was born as a Brahmin family in India. And he was telling me one of the things, he said, it's so interesting because when I came to ISKCON, every page, you're not the body, not the body, not the body, not the body. He said, I was raised, you are the body, you are the body, you are the body, you are the body. You're this caste. You don't associate with those people. You dress like this, you talk like this, you think like that. Those people are not allowed in our house. He said he had some friends from school. If they would play together, they would be thirsty. His mother would say, your friend can stay outside. We have a special glass. We'll give him water in this glass, not that glass. And he was so relieved when he came to ISKCON to understand, actually, I'm a spiritual being. I'm not this body. I don't have friends. I don't have enemies. People may think of themselves like that, but I'm a pure spiritual being. I'm lost in this material world, as is everybody else. They've forgotten what our real identity is. So, as devotees, we're so fortunate, these verses are explaining to us that the futility of this kind of conception, I know, like, again, where I live, there's nations that were, it's like, okay, we were friends with you at this time, and then we went to war with you for this period, but then we became friends with you again. Oh, but then we went to war with you again, and we just had a war with you, but now we're friends again, all based on, oftentimes, economic development. When you help me in my sense gratification, you're my friend. When you're against me in my sense gratification, my economic development, you become my enemy. So here in these verses, it's describing the futility of this type of worldview. And as devotees, we need to see the futility of this, and it needs to be a prime motivator in why we maintain our consistency in devotional service. Because we see the other options that people are offering us, because we see in Krishna consciousness, frankly, I remember as a young devotee, and there was a period of time we had a lot of people were opposed to us. They were thinking you're taking young people away from their families, or they're dropping out of school, and this is a threatening thing. Because most devotees keep good relationship with their families. A lot of devotees these days, we encourage devotees, get a good education, use it for Krishna. But there was that perception there. And I remember there was this kind of like, they were making this propaganda. Once you become a Hare Krishna, you never get out. And I was saying, watch this very closely, because so many people come and so many people leave. You don't know the reality. But we should ask, why do people leave? Because the alternative worldview that actually I can be happy with satisfying my senses, I can be happy in a bodily conception of life, I can be happy with economic development, separate from Krishna, that those things will actually satisfy me. So we have to be convinced that these things can't satisfy the soul. They can't satisfy us. And there's so many examples. I just flew in here maybe 5-6 days ago. I always like to stop and see what are the popular books these days. And I picked up one book, and some of you may know the name. It was new to me, though I should know this. There was a story of some man said around the year 2010. It was a big fat book about his life. He had some business. He became so fabulously wealthy. He sold his business to Hewlett-Packard, I remember that, for 11 billion pounds. He was so wealthy. After that, there was some financial scandal. You can read to it. I just read the outside cover, didn't read the book. So his reputation, he had to fight in court, so many things. But he got out of that. Then he was on his private yacht someplace with his family. The boat sunk. And he and his 5 daughters all died. So you see things like that, you think, okay, so I can become a multi-billionaire. There's a lot of them in the world these days, but there's a pretty good chance none of us are going to be in that club. It's a lot of work. Even there's no security. Even there. Just a few months before that, very sad story. Some of you may know the name. I don't forget the man's name. Multi-billionaire, wanted to do something unusual for his son, 14 years old, I think. So renting a yacht, sailing around Turkey or, the Mediterranean or, big house someplace in the mountain. Every rich person does that. We're going to go to the bottom of the ocean in a submarine to depths no one else has ever been before. There's only one problem. Submarine didn't work. Crushed. I don't know, 6 miles down, 7 miles down, gone, finished. Thanks, Dad. Nice present you gave me. So there's so many examples of this. Why do people do that? Why weren't they happy just renting a yacht or having a yacht and going around the Mediterranean, Turkish side? Because as Krishna describes in the Gita, the lust for material gratification, it's ever burning like fire. It's never enough. It's never enough. Therefore, they're driven to the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing. And they're driven to the next enemy. Because as you want more, as you become more powerful, then the enemies are also become more powerful. So the whole worldview is actually wrong, and it ends with failure. So here's described that if we actually want to get out of that, we have to become free from our ignorance, free from the conception that I'm matter, that matter can satisfy me, free from the foolishness of thinking that money or sense gratification of so many varieties, prestige, power, that it can satisfy me, because it can't. And of course, as devotees, the gross forms of that become pretty obvious. It's pretty simple. You become a devotee. Some of you came from nice pious backgrounds, vegetarians your whole life. Many devotees came from other backgrounds. You taste prasadam, and then you realize, these other things, who needs that? It's horrible. It's horrific. That's easy. But the subtle things are the problem. And the subtle desires become more available to us as our religion, as our community, as our position, as our temples grow. We know the example Prabhupada gave with the Gaudiya Math. At some point in time, they were building big temples, but he describes how the leaders were fighting. I want this room, I want this room, I want that room. So we see these days, as ISKCON grows, sometimes you kind of get the sense, it's like, materialistic people, they show off their cars. They show off their house. Even they have this expression, don't mean to offend the ladies here, but it's an expression, trophy wife. You have so much money, now you can afford a big, big, beautiful wife, right? To compensate with your social status. So people like to show their things off. We have to be very careful in ISKCON these days. We don't want to show off how many ministers in my Rolodex, in my smartphone. How many people can I call? How many VIPs do I know? As we grow, we are going to have more influence. We're going to know more important people, and we need to. Prabhupada personally, he had nothing, but he was meeting with prime ministers. We know the whole story here. They said the temple was ready to open. It wasn't ready to open. I think it was the governor was invited from UP, and they had to cancel the invitation. Prabhupada was furious. Devotees for days, it's described, they didn't even want to be near him because he was just mad at everybody and everything because they made such a big, big mistake. So Prabhupada wanted these big, beautiful temples. It's very important. We have to make sure we're pure enough to live in these big, beautiful temples. Prabhupada wanted our movement to become influential. We have to be careful that we can be part of something that's so influential, but not get attached to that influence. It's a big, big temptation. It's a very big temptation. So the more subtle desires and attractions of this material world, they're even more dangerous to us. So what hope is there actually described here? Again, so many points here. But it's described that Pride cometh before the fall. There's a nice, I think it's a biblical expression. Pride cometh before the fall. So we have so many blessings. If we remember, it's all by the grace of Krishna. I had the experience just a few weeks ago. So Krishna is really, my personal experience, he's really kind to me because he tries to help me remind myself to not get carried away. So anyway, I had a very nice day, one of those days where some of you are more sattvic than me. I'm more passionate. Really productive day. You know, all the phone calls I had to make, people were there. All the meetings were successful. All the decisions were good ones. We cleared away a lot of obstacles. I was coming out of my apartment. I was literally thinking, I'm not exaggerating. Today was so good. This is unusual for the material world. There's always good and bad. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody smashed into my car. And I came down the stairs and there it was, my smashed in car. It's like, thank you, Krishna. I was about to think this was a nice place. I was about to think that I'm successful in this world. And you very kindly show me that, no, it's not such a nice place. It's a true story. And there's so many like that. You all have experiences like that, how Krishna shows us. So we have this hope. We know that the material world is a great place of temptation, but it's being described here by so many different acharyas who have been quoted in this purport, that if we taste a drop of the nectar of Krishna Bhakti, then the actual description is given here, we'll lose all taste for material life. And how can we get relief? By submerging ourselves into the nectar of devotion. Quote is again given, become so absorbed that will not be, nothing in this world will disconnect us, nothing will be seen as any value. And then it's very briefly mentioned, but it's so important, and we all talk about that so much, about the importance of association with devotees. Because devotees, they do a couple things. One, they help us share the nectar, and two, they help us understand how miserable the world is. Isn't it? Don't we all have at least one or two friends that help remind us how miserable the world is? When I was a young brahmachari in Denver, Colorado, I remember going to the temple president saying, Prabhu, I'll do anything, whatever, sir. I'll go to this state, I'll go to that state, I'll stay up for 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 weeks, anything. Whatever, give us this goal, any goal, anything. Just don't send me with that devotee. That was my only request, because if you send 2 of us out, only one of us will come back. He was a very nice devotee, you know, and he did a lot of service, but somehow we didn't rub together the right way. You know, it was like he irritated me, and I'm sure I very much irritated him. So devotees, they help us, you know, really, because when you're in a material environment, like you go to work from 9 to 5, then you go home, right? Or you see people at home and then you go to work. Or you see your neighbors on the weekend, then you don't see them during the week. Devotees is like 24/7, isn't it? That puts a lot of pressure on our relationships with devotees. So it's going to be that much easier to have something relatively small can become a source of disturbance. That's sometimes the little price we pay to be with people that remind us of Krishna. You know, I often think about how fortunate we are. We get together in the morning, we talk about how do we develop love for God? How can I become free from envy? How can I become free from greed? That's not what most people do at 8 o'clock in the morning. They talk about how can I become more greedy? How can I become more lusty? How can I become more exploiting the material world? And we're all trying to pull away from that. So it's very, as it describes here, it's very, very rare. We're very fortunate. So this associating with devotees is so important. And Lord Chaitanya, by his causeless mercy, we know he made the process very easy. Srila Prabhupada, by his unlimited mercy, made it even easier, as it described, right? We just chant, we dance, and we feast. Simple process. In the Gita, Krishna himself says success is guaranteed for those who are rigidly practicing. In other words, we don't give up. Prabhupada describes sometimes like a child. It tries to walk, it'll fall on its face, it'll hurt, it'll cry, runs to its mother or crawls to its mother. But if it keeps trying, it's innate within the child to be able to walk. So this is our Vaishnava philosophy. We have an eternal relationship with Krishna. We have temporarily given it up, forgotten it, but it is our inherent nature. We're just covered, and we have to cleanse that covering. So Srila Prabhupada, he also gave this example. We're in the boat to cross the ocean material world. And because we're in the ocean, there's gonna be waves. Anybody like moved in the temple or came the first time and they said, yeah, all your problems are solved, they were not telling you the whole truth. They were telling you the partial truth. Yes, all your problems are solved, but you're still going to think you have problems. And you're still going to experience problems that aren't very important, but they're going to seem very important. So because we're in this world, we're in the ocean, and we're going to get tossed. Again, I just flew here, as I mentioned a few days ago. So I know, okay, jet lag. I'm going to be unhappy. I'm going to be suffering. I'm going to struggle to stay awake. I'm going to be miserable, and I'm going to think that life is just suffering for the next 4 days until I can sleep through the night, and then gradually I'll start seeing, oh, it's not such a bad place. There's some nice people here. I want to do something other than sleep. At 24 all day long, you just want to go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. I know that it's going to go through the cycle. And if I remember that the downs don't bother me so much. So when, just like we know, right? Martalas Parshas tu Kontea, it's cold now, it's going to get hot. You know? I'm getting some fame now, just like my experience. Oh, what a successful day. Don't get carried away. Somebody will smash into your car. Oh, thank you, Krishna. See? But if we just think, smashed car, no smashed car, serve Krishna. I get some fame, I get some attention, I get some appreciation, serve Krishna. Everybody's criticizing me, nobody seems to like me, nobody seems to appreciate me, serve Krishna. I'm young, as many of you are, serve Krishna. I'm old, as many of us are realizing we are. Krishna is very kind. I mentioned I was in the UK. Twice we had to like ride the tube, they call it, I think, the subway. I was filled with spiritual realization because a 45-year-old woman with a child asked me, would you like to sit down? Because the custom is, right, you give the seats to the old people. Or you give the seats to the ladies. Right? The men stand up, let the ladies sit down, many cultures. So like here she is asking, I was like, what, me? Who you talking? Me? Oh yeah, me. It's like I don't have my cane yet, but oh my gosh. So Krishna reminds us, time is ticking. My longtime Sankirtan partner, Anuttama Prabhu, is here. He looks pretty much the same, but he's got a lot more gray hair. So these warnings come here. So we have the mercy of the Vaishnavas. We have the boat that Srila Prabhupada has given. He's reminded us, don't be disturbed, don't be distressed. We have the Lord. We have our Diksha Guru. We have Siksha Gurus. We have, first and foremost, our founder, Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. We have the Vaishnavas. We have our sadhana. We have the deities. We have prasadam. We have so many ways of shelter given us here. But we have to maintain our humility. That was his first stories. I told about this Orthodox priest who was like excommunicated because he prayed for a wide number of people. Or again, Hindu nationalism, Christian nationalism, Jewish nationalism. When we start thinking, I'm special, Krishna doesn't like that. There's so many stories in the Shastra, right? Again, even the Bible, right? Pride cometh before the fall. If we start thinking we're special, I was told there was one, I didn't hear this directly, but there was one of the first gurus, and God bless all of them. Krishna certainly appreciates all their efforts, and eventually they'll all come back. Most of them have come back, even those that fell terribly. They've come back to Prabhupada's lotus feet. Some are still working on that. But I was told one guru was asked one time, early, first 11 or so, what's the difference between you and Jesus Christ? He said about 2,000 years. Come on. No. I mean, that kind of mood is going to please Krishna? You know? Sometimes we see in our own society, regularly they put out things at TOVP, and I love every one of them, and they're doing fantastic service, thousands of times better than I could. But sometimes they're promotional people. They get a little carried away, and they put out brochures. here we're bigger than this church, we're bigger than this mosque, we're bigger than the, and I am either me or other community. We call it, we say, what are you doing? Why are you making enemies? You try to say we're bigger, we're better, we're more important, God's blessing us, not you. You make enemies. This is our humble contribution. There's so many beautiful buildings around the world glorifying God. This is our humble contribution to that. We're going to try to see what we can do to glorify God. And if we remember that it's not my prowess, it's not my gender, it's not my age, it's not my intellect, it's not my nation that's going to save me. It's my devotion to Krishna, my devotion to God. And not that I think that I'm the best. We should think, Lord Chaitanya taught us, we should think I'm the lowest. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. There's meaning there. It's not just some meaningless vibration. So as Vaishnavas, we're meant to see, there's other schools of thought. They may say, we're the chosen people, we're the chosen religion, we're the chosen this, we're the chosen that. Our philosophy is no, everyone is a devotee of Krishna. The pig, when I first came here, you don't see them these days so much, like the pigs eating stool. That was the Vrindavan, the pigs eating stool. Here I was noticing yesterday, you don't see this in America so much. The dog who got hit by a car, right? You're limping along, suffering, and feel some sense of compassion. In my country, they have a different, there's road kill. I don't think they have road kill so much. It's like animals get killed by vehicles. Such a hellish and horrible place. We're meant to see those are all devotees of Krishna. That dog, that deer, that pig, that Muslim, that Hindu, that atheist, that agnostic, that intellectual, that imbecile, foolish, uneducated person, whatever. They're all devotees of Krishna, just covered over by different degrees. I'm a devotee of Krishna. By His causeless grace, I'm understanding that. How can I awaken that relationship with Krishna? How can I help everyone awaken their relationship with Krishna? How can I become free from the tendency, overwhelmed by desire and hate, to discriminate between people, instead of thinking I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. And if we think like that, people will flood our gates. Because I realize when you come here, people treat you with love. When you come here, people treat you with respect. When you come here, people treat you with compassion. You go other places, maybe, maybe not. But here, that should be our goal. And if we do that, Krishna says that person is a devotee. That person is pleasing me, and we know that's what we want more than anything else, is to please Krishna. And He's checking to see, how are you treating my devotees? And if we're thinking, no, he's a devotee, he's not a devotee, I like him, I don't like her, I don't like those group, I like this group, we're still in the bodily concept of life. We haven't understood the first instruction of the Bhagavad-Gita. We may think we have so much devotion, so much this, that. We haven't understood the first instruction. We have to go back, understand that first. So anyway, this is one of those purports. So much that could be talked about. So those are just a few thoughts. I thought maybe, summary, this is not a nice place. There's no shelter here. You can literally go to the bottom of the ocean. There's no shelter. I was just thinking about it before I thought, what's the destiny of that person? He wanted so bad to go to the bottom of the ocean. There's a lot of really bizarre fish down there. So if you wanted to, so you get to come back as one of those creatures that can stand. What's that?
They wanted to see the Titanic.
Yeah, the Titanic. So then you come back like one of those fish that can stand 7 miles down of pressure. Very bizarre bodies. So it's not a nice place. But we can get out of here, this material experience, by bhakti. In order to do so, we have to be humble. We actually have to learn to become servants of the servants of the servants. And we have to give our hearts to the Lord. And if we do that, He'll protect us and He will gradually awaken us to Krishna Bhakti. So I'll stop. There's a few minutes. If there's class or comment, questions or comments. Yes. Why don't you go to Prabhu?
Welcome, Prabhu. So most people are married and they have responsibilities and they have to be considerate about making money so they can support the family nicely.
Yeah.
And we know that Prabhupada, he also had family, and he was thinking, well, I'm positioned where I could actually make a lot of money and then help me spread Krishna consciousness. So sometimes we are trying to consider whether or not is materialistic? Is this desire to make money, or just to maintain the family, or with a little bit of a side idea of pushing on Krishna consciousness? Can you maybe speak a little bit about that?
Well, one thing, Prabhupada had the idea, let me make a lot of money, and as he was doing that, he was giving a lot of money. He was giving a lot of service. He was publishing, and he was trying to preach. So we have to be careful if we're thinking, Grahasta, if you're married, you got a wife, you got a kid, and the baby's not going to feed himself, And while he's a baby, she's got to take care of him as her primary duty. So as Grahasta says, it's essential to work. Krishna says in the Gita, right, you can't maintain your body if you don't work. So the challenge is, where is Krishna and where is Maya? If I'm thinking, well, I have to stop my Krishna conscious activities while I make money, that's Maya. If we're thinking, how can I best serve Krishna while I'm making money, that's Krishna conscious. So obviously there's certain professions we don't choose. Like maybe there's a lot of jobs at the slaughterhouse. Sorry, that doesn't work for me. We can try to influence our environments. We shouldn't try to influence our environments to be more sattvic and less rajarsic, in those environments. But as far as this practically with devotees, we have to see, okay, I need a job. I need to provide for my family. So I can take this job that requires 75 hours a week, and I've got to drive an hour each way, and I'm going to make a lot of money, but there's no time to chant, there's no time to go to the temple, there's no time to spend with my wife and kids, but I'll make a lot of money. Okay, that's not so Krishna conscious. Or I can get this job, maybe make a little bit less money, but it's closer to a temple, it's closer, I'll have more opportunity for spiritual activity, and we can make those kind of choices. So we have to be self-reflective. What are the pros and what are the cons? And sometimes we may make the wrong choice. We get one job and we realize, boy, the people I'm working with, they're very inimical to any kind of spirituality. It's very bad for my spiritual practice. Okay, we need to look for something else. But to be very careful to think, like Prahlad Maharaj talked about that. Okay, you're 5 years old, take up Krishna consciousness at whatever stage of life. So we have to be very careful of the illusion, well, right now I'm in the stage of life, I only make money, or I only buy my big house, or I only buy my fast car, or whatever it is, and later I'll take up Krishna consciousness. That's illusion.
You take one more.
Okay, one more. Temple President says one more.
Hare Krishna. I was thinking that Srila Prabhupada was so successful in preaching Krishna consciousness, changing the minds of so many people. What was the secret? The secret he showed is practical example. When he was lying in Radha Damodar temple before he came to the West, he was very ill, he had high fever, he lay on a straw mat, and his godbrother came and said, you have to get a bed, otherwise you die. And he said, I will use every single paisa for book distribution. So that determination, that sense of what is a priority in my life, that priority to prioritize Krishna in all things, this is our problem, because even when we are chanting, why we become distracted? Because there are priorities. This priority, that priority, that priority, that priority. We become distracted. And so Prabhupada was not distracted because he had no priorities. Even my mother, she was a Christian and an old woman, but she said, first God, then God, then God, and then the rest of it.
Nice.
It took me a long time to understand.
That was her expression. First God, then God, then God, then everything else.
And then the others.
She took good care of you, though.
It worked.
Yeah.
So the thing is that there's so many questions, there's so many ideas, we can babbling on forever about solutions. But actually the real solution is no priority and focus on the holy name and on reading Srimad Bhagavatam. That actually will make a difference in our mind. If we actually do that, then Krishna will guide us. We don't have to listen to many gurus. Krishna will guide us into the right direction.
Very good. I would only add one thing, and that we should be expert at seeing how do I do that best, and not waste energy criticizing how others are doing it differently than we do. You know, for like, in other words, if I'm a brahmachari, what I can do is different than a woman with 3 kids. So I should not waste my time thinking about her or her husband or those 3 kids. They've got to practice their Krishna consciousness according to their own understanding, according to their own position. But the values, the goals, as you said,
Let's not worry about others. We should worry about ourselves. First of all, if we actually do that, then we can do everything.
Yes, very nice.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Good summary. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki jai. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Gaura Premanandi.